Welcome to Avant-Garde Entrepreneur. I am so glad you're here today with me, my friend. As I talked about in episode 48, we are focusing on helping you build strong, sustainable businesses while nourishing your soul and your spirit. That's the big emphasis for 2024. And our first guest of the year is here to do just that. So, in broad terms, we are talking about marketing and mindset. But I have a feeling, based on the amazing person that we're talking to, we'll probably get into something much more deeper than that. We have the pleasure of meeting Dylan Vanas. Dylan is the founder and CEO of one of the most successful SaaS companies, Agency Box, and the co-founder of Mindful Agency. He went from being what he calls a wantpreneur to a full-blown entrepreneur, and he's been featured in major media outlets like Fox, ABC, Yahoo, and he even has his own column for entrepreneur.com. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers, and he's really been able to build relationships with some of the world's most influential people. As one of the toughest leaders in the market industry, Dylan has grown a sizable personal brand, Agency Box, servicing thousands of clients and providing agencies with insourcing solutions to reach new clients and help them service their existing clients even better. In addition to that, Agency Box offers multiple digital services such as social media management, Facebook and Google advertising, logo and graphic design, press services, SEO, website development, and much more. Needless to say, Dylan knows a thing or two about what we're talking about today. But Dylan doesn't stop there. He's way more than a marketing and digital world expert. He's a successful two-time eight-figure entrepreneur with a desire to share his unique perspectives and experiences with others so that they can see things in a new light and take action towards creating their own success. Dylan, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for that. I don't know why it's hard for me to hear a minute of myself.
It was the longest minute of your life.
Yeah,
When did you go to
but
start?
thanks for sharing those things. So, but yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, you've done a lot in your life. It's amazing, Dylan. And if people aren't watching on YouTube, hopefully people are watching on YouTube, but if you're listening on air, you'll see that Dylan is not an old guy for what he's done, quite young. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Dylan, kind of from your perspective. Obviously, we know a little bit about some of your professional accolades, but tell us a little bit about your roots. Like, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And kind of what was your early career like?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada, and I live in Las Vegas right now, which is like the polar opposite. If you know anything about Vancouver, it's like the Canadian comparison of Los Angeles. You know, like very green, like yoga, like you could do every outdoor activity. And now I'm in like the sin capital of the world. But yeah, so I come from a family of dentists. My dad's a dentist, his dad was a dentist, and so naturally I was supposed to be a dentist. And one day I woke up and I'm like, Dad, I don't think I want to look in people's mouths for the rest of my life. So I dropped out of college. He didn't talk to me for 6 months because I was kind of walking away from effectively like a golden handcuffs, right? Like
Yeah.
here, take over the family business. I had to figure it out myself, right? At that point, so I just went on basically a journey of like there's a book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, one of my
Yes.
favorite books. And I actually gave it to my dad years later after I read it. So, Dad, read this book. And he read it and he's like, I understand how you think now. That book is all about one person discovering really like the meaning of their, this is what I took from it, right? I think everyone takes something different, but I took that is this the main character discovering like the purpose of his life through going through experiences, but ultimately the whole purpose, the whole thing he was looking for was back where he started. And so through that, it's like, I went on a crazy journey of literally moving and living in like seven different cities in like 2 years and traveling the world, traveling the country with this business I was trying to start. And ultimately I just realized like, I can just start. I started like four or five companies. They all failed. One of them did really well really quickly and then failed really quickly. I made $1 million in like my first year, $1 million in my first year and a half, and then like it went and like failed completely. So I was like, okay, let me assess like who I am, what I can really do. And I realized I've always loved marketing. I've always been intrigued by it. So I was like, how can I help other businesses do that? And I started off just by helping a few people that I knew. I started to kind of discover this opportunity in like people wanting to become thought leaders, like
Mhm.
these people that want to grow their personal brand online, get on stages, get grow their following. And so then in Mindful Agency, that's really what we do. We focus on that. We help people grow their brands. And then Agency Box is a support mechanism for other people that run agencies now. So I'm kind of like the agency's agency, but at the same time also have my own agency where we serve people like you too, who are growing their personal brand and looking to impact more people.
That's amazing. I'm sure that there's a 30-minute version that's even more spectacular, but that's amazing that you summed it up so concisely. What was your so it- you talked about walking away from the family business, reading The Alchemist and going on a journey. You knew that you could help people in marketing. What was really what was how did you go from it being an idea of, I really love marketing and I really like helping people? What was your next step for it to become the first step toward Agency Box?
I think with everything, the first step is materializing it. Whether it's I want to be in better shape or I want to whatever it is, the first step to materializing it is writing it down as a goal. So for me, that's with everything I want. It's like let me take this thought, put it on paper. I actually have a. I was looking at this the other day. This is a list of goals I fold up and put in my wallet. This was
Mhm.
years ago. I keep them, and I was looking at this one. I was like, this is 2020, and it's like all but one of these I achieved. And it's funny, I went through a period in my life when I would look at these goals every day and like review
Mhm.
them. I literally had them on my mirror and I would like read them out loud and like affirmation style, like I'm wealthy, I'm well, like and now I don't do that necessarily every day because I
Mhm.
do have like business focuses and other stuff. But just the fact of like putting it in my wallet, carrying it around, like there's something I don't know what it is. Like there's just something powerful about saying what we want, materializing it on paper, and then
Mhm.
keeping it with us and keeping that on the horizon. So that's like I guess like the theoretical side. The
Yeah.
tactical side of that is I just went out and told people what I was doing and just let people know because I went out and said I went out to networking events. I went out to all the people I knew said, hey, I'm starting this marketing agency. If you know anyone that wants to do some marketing, let me know. There's people out in the world that want to buy your stuff. You just got to know where to find them.
Mhm.
And so and they got to know you exist too. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just like, if you let enough people know what you're doing, eventually someone's going to say yes. So
Mhm.
that was like the first step. And then the first guy, he's like, hey, you have a website? I'm like, yeah, let me send it to you in the morning. So like that night, I'm like making my own website, send it to him. He's like, oh, great. In the morning, he's like, great website. I'm like, thanks. So
That's amazing, Dylan. That's really inspiring to hear. It probably sounds so simple to you and just it's what you did, but for a lot of people, they feel shy about telling people what they do, or they feel like they've got to have a lot of stuff in place. And that's a really encouraging to hear that you just kind of built it as you went, got out there and told people and just made it happen.
yeah,
Amazing.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Can you differentiate for us? Is there a difference in your world and when you work with clients between personal and business branding?
Yeah, yeah. And I know sometimes people ask questions based on like what the audience wants to hear. And I don't know if like do you understand the difference between the two?
I feel like mine is the same because I am my brand now. In other businesses where I've had a partner or someone else was involved, some of my values kind of were part of the brand, but not a lot. It was more the business was kind of based on what I knew people wanted. Wasn't necessarily what I wanted, it was what they wanted. As far as
Mm,
from a branding standpoint, what I showed. I
got
don't
it.
know if that
Yes.
was the way to do it, but that's what I did.
Well, so here's the thing is you nailed it perfectly in that you are your brand and you are by definition a personal brand. See, it would be different if it was called tvphd.com and it wasn't specifically you. It was like a big organization. Your face wasn't there. It just happened to be inspired by you. You were the creator. But it's really like you, right? And you are the creator of your organization, but you're the brand, you're the face of it. So in that, I have dylanvanas.com. That's me. I've got my social media is Dylan Vanas. That's my personal brand. I am the person. But then I've got my companies. I've got Mindful Agency. I've got Agency Box. And those are kind of my business brands. And so what I think is important is for every single person to have a personal brand, because much like they used to say about college degrees, and I know you're much more well educated from the traditional standpoint than me, you may disagree with what I say here, but they used to say a college degree is something they can never take away from you. And while that's technically true, things are shifting in many ways where having more letters after your name isn't necessarily the ticket to financial freedom. And so with that being said, if you have a personal brand, whether you're working for a company or there's I actually just bought a standing like a treadmill so I can walk while I work. And I looked online and there's this lady called the walking worker. And I guess she's some lady. She ended up losing like 50 pounds in a year by walking on one of these treadmills. But she's like a call center employee. But she went and while she's working as a call center employee, she created this brand around the walking worker, and now she's got hundreds of thousands of followers. That's a personal brand. See, the interesting thing about that now is if she figures out a way to monetize, if maybe she, I don't know if she's necessarily business savvy, but let's say she gets a business inspiration. She decides to sell merchandise and all these other things. Now she has a business because of her personal brand. But that merchandise company would have never succeeded had she not had a personal brand. Let's say 4 years later, there's another crypto boom and she wants to create an NFT. Then she can sell an NFT, or let's say she wants to create a health product, like whatever it is. And so whether it's a company you're working with or your own company, a personal brand kind of follows you, and it's much more sticky.
Mhm.
Just one last thing on this point is that if you go look at Home Depot and then the CEO of Home Depot, Home Depot is actually a bad example. So Twitter, right? Elon Musk has 160 some odd followers, and then Twitter itself has what, 30 million, 40 million. Same thing with Instagram. Mark Zuckerberg has more followers than Instagram itself. Same thing with Bill Gates. And so the truth is, and Amazon with Jeff Bezos. So why do the people who are the CEO of the company have more of a following than the company when the company is probably more widely known by the masses? It's because people are more sticky.
Sounds like if you're someone, let's say you're just a few years into your business or you're thinking about starting one, especially social entrepreneurs, it's a very much a hard thing. If you've got to choose between the two, if you've got to start with one or the other, it sounds like it's probably better to start with your personal brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you do that in this digital age? Obviously, it's really important, but what are your tips for people to create a strong personal brand?
Yeah, so there's like an ascension of three things. I kind of look at like a pyramid. On the bottom level is what I call a baseline level of social proof. Okay.
Mhm.
So basically, if someone Googles you, there needs to be something about you that exists. In your case, you got your personal brand website, you've got your LinkedIn page, you also have your Instagram and your socials and stuff like that, right? But for someone else, right, they need to set those things up. So you need to have a website that's ideally yourname.com or something similar. And then from there, you have Instagram is kind of like one of the main platforms that most people are using today to facilitate business. So usually I encourage people to go there, and you should start posting content. But so it's the baseline level of social proof is 10,000 followers on Instagram, which you can do there's ways to grow that initial 10,000. But basically the whole purpose of that first layer is no one cares about you until they believe that you're worth caring about. It's like this weird, like psychological thing, right? If you have 6 followers and it's just pictures of your cat and your dog, people are like, okay, like, why am I going to follow this person? There's nothing here. But if you have 12,000 followers and you're posting value-driven content, well, then in that case, people are more likely to say, like, okay, this is interesting. Maybe I'll give this person a follow. So that's at the bottom level. Also, if you can get featured in some articles, digital articles that show up on Google, that's helpful too. Does that make sense on layer one?
Yes, it does.
So then when
Yes.
you ascend to layer two, this is what's the mission? What's the purpose? Like, why are you actually doing this? And with that, then, for you, if it's like, social entrepreneurship, we want to then create, I'm not sure exactly sure what your mission is, but maybe it's, let's say, elevating social entrepreneurs, for example. And so then with that, you would know that your entire content would wrap around that one idea where everything you're doing ties to that, and you start creating content around it. And then so that's when people who come to see your page, they know what you're about. And then on the top layer is the kind of the hardest part, which is actually building an audience, right? How do you get people to follow you and want to follow you in masses? And the best way to do that in today's age right now is through what I call audience hacking. So basically, what you're doing is you're going and you're going to get in front of other people's audiences through partnerships. They're gonna find a way to have them promote or share you or collaborate with you, and then you're being exposed to their audience that they've already spent years building, and you're going to pull from it. It is really hard to build an audience organically today on social media,
Mhm.
but if you can get in front of someone who has already done all the hard legwork, get in front of their audience, then you have the ability to grow your brand much faster.
That's amazing. That's great insight. And it's so, um, I won't say it's easy, but it's simple. So thank
Yeah.
you for that. Yeah. So when it comes to as you're building your brands, obviously we want to, you talked about getting in with influential people, and you talked about, your story from just going to networking meetings and telling people what you're doing. How do you approach building and so cultivating and maintaining relationships with influential people while you're still doing the running the business of your business?
Yeah, so for me, I kind of have an advantage. So for me, I've been lucky to be able to work alongside some really great people and have them as clients. See, with my business, my agency, it's like if I want to work with someone, I can just message them and tell them what I do, and then offer to do it for free for them because I just want to build that relationship. Let's say I want to connect with, I don't know, the Dwayne the Rock Johnson. He's quite influential, but I could find a way to get in front of him. And let's say there's something he needs. I mean, like he's on another stratosphere, so there's probably not a whole lot he needs. But let's dial him back 10 years ago. It's like, hey, do you want to get? Can I be your PR firm? We'll do all your press and media exposure. I'll do it pro bono for the next 12 months. For us, it doesn't cost a whole lot, but now I'm able to foster a relationship with really a growing and high level person. And so that's one way we do it. And really, it's just about being valuable, leading with value and service, and not asking for anything in return. And then, with that being said, eventually that leads to more opportunities down the road, and just all around a good exchange of value. How to build relationships while running a business and being busy. My business kind of is like the mechanism for
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
But I also say yes to everything. People invite me to events. People invite me onto podcast shows. People invite me to speak at stuff. People invite me to dinners. Like I'm just gonna say yes and try to squeeze it in because I know that if I just meet one person and that leads to one other thing or whatever, it's valuable use of my time.
So for people who don't necessarily aren't running a marketing firm and don't have I guess you could say the ease of access or the easy offer and service to provide, then it's really about whoever the people are that you want to meet, offering value
Mhm.
where you can, and then saying yes to as many
Mhm.
opportunities as possible.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone has a way to add value, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's just like being a friend. Like some
Mhm.
of these people, by the way, I have one friend of mine. He's very, very, very well known, and he's incredibly successful. He's like the number one guy in his industry ever. And he told me when I met him, he's like, dude, I don't need anything from you, but just a relationship, like if it's my daughter's birthday, send me a note,
Mhm.
if it's Christmas, just wish me Merry Christmas. And sooner or later, you're going to be the only person who's done that for a year or two. And now you're going to be one of my closest friends.
Yeah.
And that was a big aha moment for me. I was like, wow, even people at the top, that's all
Mhm.
they want.
Mhm. Yeah. And then when you're around them, you're such a high vibe person. If they're a high vibe person, you're going to just attract more of that. And
Hmm.
it becomes something where I think a lot of people, especially in social entrepreneurship, because they're leading so many people and they're dealing with really difficult, complicated socioeconomic challenges, it's tough to find friends and people that you can really relate to and that are kind of high vibe and pull you up. So I can see the value of finding those people and those influential people and truly just being a friend and not giving or accepting anything more than that. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
So in terms of as we're building relationships, not just with influential people, but building relationships online, can you give us some insight? The kind of the marketing and connecting strategies. I think some things are the same. At least they last for a few years, but some things change. Is there anything coming up in 2024 that listeners and people need to know about when it comes to building your brand online or communicating with people online to build your audience?
Yeah, this year is going to be interesting, right? There's going to be a lot of shifts, and I think the biggest thing that we're going to have to see how it unfolds and exactly what the implications of it are, though, is AI technology.
Mm.
And with just the accessibility and the volume of content that can be created right now, there's AI that I have a tool that I put a script in, and I can put in 1,000 phone numbers and leads, and it'll call the people and have somewhat of a reasonable conversation where 40-50% of the people don't even know it's AI, and it's quite interesting to see that. So
Wow.
if we can do that with a phone call right now, we're not far off from that being a video content, photo-based content. And then the next evolution of that would then be we're not far off from AI technology being able to run complete brands, like
Wow. Yeah.
create the content, post the content, engage with the content. I think just keeping an eye on where it's at and not being overwhelmed by the amount of stuff coming at us with AI, but more so being aware of what exists. And then if something makes sense for you and your business, look at how to use it and be an early adopter for the technology. Because I remember, 15 years ago, my grandmother was trying to work her 2001 computer and was like, this stuff just moves so fast. I just can't understand it, right? And we look at those or look at an iPhone from 2007 and there's like 4 apps on it.
Yeah.
And at the time, it's like, at the time, it's relatively simple actually for most people to start and use it. But now these phones have so many things to do. If someone picked up an iPhone for the first time, let's say someone came out of jail, never used the iPhone before, they're using it, they're going to be confused. They'll probably never learn it. So let's start now while it's relatively more simple and at least get used to using it so that way as it more stuff gets added over time that you're able to adapt and grow with it.
Oh, that's it's so important, especially with this with AI to try to get on before it does get more complicated. And then I think also starting with things simple prompts, like just get into it and start with something simple because it is easy to get overwhelmed. But I would encourage people to, yeah, get in there and start with things that are simple. So, Dylan, you've been had quite a few experiences in your life. What would you say as you're talking to other leaders? What's the biggest challenge that you faced on your entrepreneurial journey to where you are today, and how did you get past that?
So a biggest like number one thing is getting over myself. I think
Mm.
that a lot for a lot of people, it took a while for me to understand my strengths, my weaknesses, and where I kind of fall in the world of business. We actually, me and my current business partner, we recently realized we were in the wrong seats on the bus. We're like, for a long time, we were doing things together, and things were like really efficient, everything's working, and then went through a period of time when we're like we're having a little more friction now than we're used to, and we like assess like what are we doing wrong? It's like we're sitting in each other's seats like, so then we kind of switch seats and like we're grooving again. It's like it's so weird to see that. So I think being really self-aware, knowing where me, someone as the person who's inside the driver's seat of their business or life, looking and understanding where that falls. That's one. The other major thing is I've dealt with terrible people
Mm.
who've stolen money from me, cause friction in relationships, and so I think that that's like the probably this the second biggest thing is I've had, one instance in particular where there was a guy I was working with who ended up looting all the bank accounts and disappearing, I had to spend quite a significant amount of time to just to give you some context. So we had our biggest month ever, and the next month this guy loots all the money and disappears. So I'm
Oh
left with all the
gosh.
fulfillment debt of these people that had paid us, and to fulfill over the next, the period of time that the people had paid for. And then meanwhile, working with, police to track this guy down. So that was a huge learning opportunity for me on levels of control, how to set things up, working with the right people. And I think had that not happened, I probably wouldn't be the person I am today with business.
Yeah, and what you experienced is terrible as it was. It's almost something that, I mean, you can be taught things, but you almost have to walk through those crappy experiences to become the person that you're meant to be, you
Yeah,
know?
100%. I was actually interestingly enough, I was at a meditation conference that the week before that happened. So had our biggest month ever. I go and I do a 7-day meditation retreat. And the last day of the retreat, I find out this had happened. And I'm like, what things did I conjure up and manifest in this time? So it's like, for that to happen, literally like the day I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And I think that in order for, sometimes we go through things, and I've said before that life only makes sense in looking at it in reverse,
Mhm.
right? Because if we wake up the next day and day after day just keep chugging along and moving forward, eventually we're going to get to some kind of equilibrium or some kind of better place. But
Mhm.
the reason that so many people fail, in my experience with seeing it, and from my personal experience, is something like that happens and they give up. I could
Mhm.
have gone and got a cozy job making, a nice, healthy salary somewhere, and just said I'm gonna just like hide in this little cubby for the rest of my life. But I know that my mission, my purpose is greater, and that for me, that's not my life's purpose.
Mhm.
So for me, I wake up, and even when I was in like one of the deepest holes ever, I still know that that greater purpose and mission is what I'm moving towards. And in order to get there, I have to get over this. And then I'm stronger because of it. Now I'm more sure of myself. I understand a lot more about business. I understand life. I understand people. I understand legalities. Right? There's so many lessons I learned from it that I'm 29 right now. Like most people don't learn these lessons or ever. So it's like
Mhm.
for me to know this now when the stakes are the stakes, and this, I'm not talking about $1 billion and hundreds of millions, right? Maybe it's a blessing in disguise.
And that guy is out of your life now, thankfully.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
you have
Oh yeah,
separated, you have disconnected your energy from him.
100%.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Yeah.
So this brings up the next topic that I think is really important for people to entrepreneurs to hear other entrepreneurs talk about, especially those who have been through really crappy situations. You mentioned meditation. What do you do to recharge? How do you yeah, what do you do to recharge? How do you keep yourself going?
So
How do you
they say it's like go ahead. It was
Yeah, I was just going to say, how do you take your foot off the gas so that you can get grounded and then keep moving forward?
I think that that's a great question for someone who knows how to take their foot off the gas.
That's not you.
um but for me for me, I know that. So there's people say there's like introverts and extroverts, right? An extrovert is someone that you're in a group of people and you get charged up. An introvert, you're around a group of people and you get charged down, right? And you need to go. My sister's this way. She's after Christmas dinner. When I go see them in a couple weeks, she's gonna be laying under her bed, in her covers, like, oh, this is so nice. Whereas me, I'm like, guys, like, what's next? Board games? Like, like we're going all night, right? So I like being around people. I really do. Like I've always said, I just love people in general. Like I don't really have like any people that maybe someone would call me their enemy, but like I never look at anyone as like an enemy. I just like people. So that's one thing for me. And then like when it comes to like personally, like I have like meditation room in my house. I have a sauna, if like an infrared sauna. I have like an area that I meditate in. So for me, it's like sometimes I have to shut my brain off in order to really be able to process stuff.
Mhm.
We're consumed by thousands, we're attacked by thousands and thousands of people, companies, and things that want our attention every single day. And our brains right now, I don't think that we actually have the ability to deeply process and understand things. In a world where some people used to drive in silence and that used to be their processing time, now they're got the radio playing, they're texting on their phone, like there's like seven things that they're doing in the car, there's advertisements. Then some people in the shower, right? That used to be the time to think. Now people bring their phones in their shower. So
Mhm.
it's like I think just as humans, and I know this personally, like we know we need to have the ability to shut our brains off, shut our brains off, shut our brain. Only 30 minutes is more than enough. And just allow our brains and our bodies to kind of just like process all the stuff in our lives,
Mhm.
and then we're good. We can go about our day, and I do that in the morning first thing, and that's kind of my way of resetting my battery for every day.
That's great. And you make it sound so simple. I talk a lot about meditation, but you make it sound real easy. 30 minutes a day. Just close your eyes, put some good earplugs in or some good music in or something just to dull the senses.
So yeah, so with that being said, that I have that. I also have other practices. I do like walking
Mm.
meditations. I've done all sorts of different kind of things. I've done
Yeah.
6 hour meditations. Like what's the practice you talk about? Like
Are you gonna speak?
yeah. What is it for you? Yeah.
Oh, I think probably similar to you. I do walking, standing meditations. I do get in the sauna and just have quiet and dark and just shut my brain off, get to a different frequency. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I know, Dylan, that you have your personal and your business mission. And I know you're a high vibe guy, but you have been through some challenges and I'm sure more to come. So what keeps you going on tough days? What's your why? Why do you stay out there and keep helping people?
So Ed Milet, about a year ago, you know who Ed Milet is?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so he had a book launch. He wrote his book, and it's called Power One More, and this was just over a year ago. So I went out to his house in Palm Springs. There was a small group of people there, and I guess so. His book, the whole idea behind it was like it's the power of one more. So hey, if you're working out and you think you're on the last rep, just do one more. Or
Mm.
if you think if you're someone who's depressed and thinking about taking your life, just do one more day. Or or you're thinking about giving up your business, just try one more week or one more call. And after you do that one more, just tell yourself one more. Because that one thing it's the monumental step. It's just like the one monumental thing, but you never know, like that one could be the thing that changes and takes it from being bad to okay to good.
Mm.
So for me, it's just, I don't, for me, I know my greater purpose is impact, and I have the things I'm going to do in this lifetime. I'm still learning and developing, and I'm going through a lot of things in my life. But for me, when times are tough, I kind of just look at myself. It's like, all right, like I've got the great things I want to do in my life. I know those are there. I don't have the capability to work on those just yet. And so I'm currently in this place, but it's fine because I'm moving towards that. And in order to do that, I just got to take one more step.
I love that. That's powerful. Just one more step, one more thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So before I ask my last question, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but so it's fresh. How do people find you if they want to connect with you? What's the best way?
So directly with me, Instagram, Dylan Vanas, Dylan V as in Victor, Anas. Also my website, dylanvanas.com. Or if you want to grow your personal brand, your business brand, mindfulagency.com.
Great. Perfect. Okay. So we'll make sure that we link to all of those in the show notes. So, my last question, and I'll let you go. What is your biggest vision? And you can choose it. You might see Agency Box and Mindful Agency. You might see them collectively, but you can talk about collectively or one or the other. What is your biggest vision for your businesses at this time
So
that you can see?
my thing that I've always wanted to do is to create a okay, so when I was 16, I went to a leadership program called it's called Leap at UCLA in California. And there's like 400 or 500 youth that go there. They teach you the things that you need to succeed in life that's not taught in school: personal development, goal setting, time management, public speaking, all that stuff. Great program. I think it's shifted over the years, but when I went years ago, it was phenomenal. Now, with that being said, I understand how one little thing like that can be can be the catalyst for change in people's lives. And so for me, I took a week out of my life to go to retreat from my life into this other kind of this experience where I was learning and growing, developing. So I love to create a retreat center of sorts where we can have host masterminds, experiences, spiritual journeys, business, events, and just have that. And maybe that's where mindful agency block leads to. I'm not sure. I'm going to host my first event. I've hosted other events before, but my first kind of like mid-sized event, 300 or 400 people in Vegas early next year in March. So that's an opportunity to do more of this kind of stuff, and really just giving people the room to have monumental changes in their lives. That's my great mission.
Hmm. That's an incredible mission. Dylan, I know that you've made a lot of difference in people's lives already, and I know that you've got a lot more ahead. So thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And thank you for your time and also for your insights, not just for 2024, but for the next few years. I think a lot of the things that you shared are very, very perennial and evergreen. So we appreciate it.